So to load the Ultra buttons into the holders, take the cradle, pinch it in your hand, and just pull the cradle part through, yielding the button. That keeps all of your tail sutures nice and out of the way. And then you'll want to just snap these into place like so, clip them in, and again do the same for the other button. Here we have a semi-tendinosis allograft. Overall measurement on this particular tendon is about 260 millimeters. And what we're going to do is we're going to formulate a quadruple looped, close-ended graft that we will first start just weaving through one end of the Ultra button cradle, leaving a small tail, bring it back through the other one, and again using that same end that we're weaving is bring it back again through the left cradle, back through the right one, and get it to a point where we now have, when these ends are ultimately sutured, we have 4 strands. So I like to overlap these roughly 2 centimeters in length, and then using a non-absorbable suture, either a number 2 or an O, just do 2 little side-to-side horizontal mattress sutures to spot weld this portion of the graft, so to speak. So at this stage, we've now spot welded and closed the loops, and now we are going to loosen up the one holder and essentially position the overlapped segment where it's at one end of either cradle, doesn't matter which. And we're going to slowly tension this out. So now we're going to perform the cerclage portions of the graft preparation stitching, and these are the ones that will really secure the graft limbs together, finalizing the security of this graft. I tend to put 2 on each, towards each end of the graft, so 1 just under the cradle on each side, and then 1 about 5 to 7 millimeters more central to each of those. So we end up having 2 of those on each side. So we're going to start inside, so starting inside the graft. And this way, when you ultimately tie your surgeon's knot, that knot is buried within the graft and not sticking on the outside of the graft. So we're coming out the one side, and then from this pass, we're going to pass all the way over to the contralateral side of the graft, grasping all of the tendon tissue. So here we're going to wrap 2 to 3 times around the graft completely. There we go. You can see we now have graft wrapped around. I'll just sort of take some tension out of the system there a little bit. And then at this point, we're ready to do the last pass of the needle from the far side into the center of the tendon, where we can then tie our knot and it'll be buried. So here we're going to finish off this and tie the knot. So at this stage, we've completed our 4 cerclage securing sutures. There's a couple things I'll do now at this stage is size the graft. Key is to have an open sizer like this to slip over the Ultra button sutures so you can bring it back onto the graft for sizing purposes. And here we can demonstrate a 10 millimeter on this end, and it appears to be a 10 millimeter on that end. So a nice sized graft as far as diameter, and then as far as length goes, here showing roughly 60 to 62 millimeters in overall graft length. So it's going to be perfect for this all inside technique.